Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to unpack something that's creating, well, quite a stir in the music world. Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, a lot of buzz, maybe some anxiety too.
Definitely. We've gathered some really interesting stuff, a TED Talk from Harvey Mason Jr., some very lively Reddit discussions.
Right, from music production and alarm musicians. Always interesting to see the ground level view.
Exactly. Plus articles from M Magazine, Telefonica, analyses from OECD.ai, SciSac, and even an academic paper.
So a pretty wide net.
Yeah. The goal here is basically to understand what AI actually means for making music and, for the musicians themselves.
And what jumps out right away is just the sheer range of feelings about it. It's not just tech talk, it's fear, it's possibility.
Absolutely. That tension is everywhere. And speaking of that, Harvey Mason Jr.'s TED Talk feels like the right place to start. He kicks off saying he's scared to death.
Which is quite a statement, considering who he is.
Right. Top songwriter, producer, and CEO of the Recording Academy. He represents, 25,000 members?
So he sees it from both sides, the creative side and the industry side. That's key.
And he's not anti-tech either. He mentioned he's actually been using AI tools for about a decade.
Yeah, to enhance creativity, he said. So it's not the tech itself he fears, necessarily.
It seems to be the speed, the worry that AI might just take over from human creativity entirely because it's moving so fast.
Exactly. That potential leap from helpful tool to replacement. That's the core concern.
And that's where his 4-step survival guide comes in. Understand, adapt, advocate, and compete. Sounds simple, maybe.
But there's a lot packed into each one. That first step, understand. It's fundamental, isn't it?
You can't deal with something if you don't get what it is. He stresses really digging into what AI can do, how it learns from all that data.
Like how it listens to tons of music to find patterns.
Yeah, and understanding its limits, but also where it might be heading.
Which leads into that story about his studio team, right?
Oh, yeah. He asked them, including his longtime collaborator, Andrew, who's apparently pretty tech-savvy, to really explore generative AI while he was away. The kind that makes new stuff.
And the reaction when he got back was intense.
Totally. He found them disgusted, he said, and worried.
Yeah.
Really worried about their jobs.
You can see why. They saw AI spitting out songs in seconds. Stuff that takes them weeks.
Yeah. Andrew apparently felt obsolete, worried about his family. It makes it very real, doesn't it? Takes it beyond just theory.
It really does. And Harvey's reaction is important. He didn't just brush it off. He went straight to step 2, adapt.
And he frames adapt really well, historically. He brings up the player piano example.
Right. How piano players must have felt then. New tech always causes ripples, but creative people find ways.
They evolve, find a new balance.
And that story about his dad, the drummer, facing the Lin LM1 drum machine, that really hits home.
Yeah, his dad felt obsolete too, just like Andrew. This was like a revolutionary drum machine back then.
Super precise digital drums.
His dad apparently called the crate it came in the devil or something like that.
Yeah. But the point is, he didn't just give up.
No, he learned it, mastered it, became the first guy to use it on a record, apparently.
It was a perfect example of adaptation. It's not just rolling over. It's actively learning and using the new thing, finding an edge.
Exactly. Maybe even changing how you work.
So understand, adapt. Then step 3 is advocate.
This is about talking to everyone. Tech developers, labels, publishers, lawmakers.
Getting involved in shaping the rules. This is where his Recording Academy role really shows.
Yeah, meeting with the Copyright Office, testifying to Congress, because the laws, like copyright, weren't built for this.
Big questions there. Can AI work be copyrighted? Who owns what?
He said those talks were complex, but we're making headway, raising awareness, getting some bipartisan support.
Mention state bills and a federal No Fakes Act, too.
So advocacy is happening. It shows that the legal side has to catch up with the tech.
Definitely. You need those frameworks.
Which brings us to the last step. Compete. He uses a basketball analogy here.
Yeah, playing with Steve Kerr under Lute Olson, competitive stuff.
But competing here isn't about trying to make music faster than AI.
No, it's about leaning into what makes humans unique. Heart, soul, innovation.
Telling our own stories, right?
Yeah.
Based on actual lived experience, the messy stuff, the uncertainty. Things AI. Well, it doesn't really get that.
It can mimic, maybe make something that sounds okay, even familiar, but that authentic human spark, that's different.
He really believes in music's power to connect, and that humans are essential for that.
It's an inspiring message, really. He knows music will change, but he's giving creators a way to think about navigating it. Understand, adapt, advocate, compete.
Okay, so that's the view from someone like Harvey Mason Jr. Let's shift gears now and dive into those Reddit threads. Your music production, your musicians. What did you see there?
Well, just like you said earlier, it's really mixed. A lot of anxiety for sure. People worried about losing work, feeling devalued, echoing that obsolete feeling.
Yeah, the fear of just being drowned out by a flood of AI music is definitely there. Makes it harder to get heard.
But then you have others pushing back, saying, look, marketing is still hard. Connecting with fans is still the real challenge.
Right, and some argue that if you use AI creatively, with passion, that's still valid art.
There's a lot of debate around that line, though. Using AI as a tool versus just saying, make me a Nirvana song. Where's the artistry then?
Good question. But then there's the idea that AI could help people who have musical ideas but can't play instruments. Kind of lowers the barrier to entry.
True. But the flip side is the worry about corporations using AI for, background music or jingles, just good enough stuff to save money.
Yeah, displacing working musicians in those areas, that's a big concern.
Although some hope that the really custom, high-end work stuff needing a deep understanding of a brief will stay human.
There was even that thought, maybe AI takes over the generic stuff, and that frees up humans for more interesting projects. Kind of optimistic take.
It's possible. The whole question of whether AI can be truly experimental beyond just remixing what it learned, that came up a lot. Does it have intent?
Yeah, and philosophical stuff too. Like, if AI makes technically perfect music easily, what happens to the artist's ego?
And the copyright issue, again, the fact that pure AI stuff isn't really copyrightable, that's seen as a break on things, for now at least.
But that human connection, the personality of an artist, lots of people felt that's irreplaceable.
Yeah, that kept coming up. And
Right.
practical uses, too, like using AI for specific tasks.
Like generating a drum pattern you can then tweak, or a bass line maybe.
Exactly. Keeping the human in control. Though there were whispers of much more advanced AI audio tools on the horizon, way beyond what's out there now.
Things are moving fast.
And some frustration, too. People wishing musicians would, organize or protest more.
While others seemed resigned, thinking AI will just become standard because it's easy, and maybe audiences won't care that much about the difference if it sounds okay.
The good enough argument.
But then the counter-hope. Maybe real individuality will shine even brighter against an AI backdrop.
The bigger questions about AGI, artificial general intelligence, popped up too. Are we anywhere near that?
Right. Ultimately, the Reddit stuff shows a community really grappling with this. Lots of different angles.
Yeah.
There's this sense that, yeah, music has formulas, but human expression, a point of view, that's different.
Even stories of people being moved by AI music, despite maybe sounding generic instrumentally, it's complicated.
And practical uses like pulling apart songs for remixes. That's happening now.
Okay, let's switch to the M Magazine article. More of an industry angle here. They make a useful distinction early on between assistive and generative AI.
Right. Assistive is like AI helping with existing tools.
Exactly. Improving mixing, mastering, making things more efficient. Generative AI is the stuff that creates new content from scratch, which we've mostly been talking about.
That's helpful. M Magazine suggests generative AI could be like an inspiration source.
Yeah, like a creative partner. The AI generates something, the human shapes it, transforms it, collaboration, not replacement.
They also put it in context, reminding us how tech, like cheap recording software, digital distribution, streaming, how that already changed the game for creators.
And AI is also being used by the industry, for data analytics to predict trends and target audiences.
They float this idea of a symbiotic relationship between tech folks and composers. AI spotting patterns, maybe suggesting ideas.
But the human keeps control, augmenting the toolkit.
And then you have groups like PRS for music thinking about the rules.
Right. Their AI principles aim for balance, not banning it, but setting ethical lines, no plagiarism, fair use.
Transparency is huge for them, knowing when AI was used and making sure royalties still go to human creators overseeing the process.
Julia Rowan from PRS basically says UK copyright law is strong, but needs AI updates, like getting permission to train AI on copyrighted songs and paying for it.
She mentioned needing a transparency regime, too, AI companies having to say what data they use for training.
Makes sense if you want to enforce rights. And the article touches on wider worries, too, about deepfakes and just knowing if what you're seeing or hearing is real.
Yeah, that goes way beyond music. Trust, democracy, big stuff.
Okay, now the OECD.ai analysis. This is more high-level policy thinking. They acknowledge the opportunities, but also the risks, like job losses, and not just in music.
They bring up that heart on my sleeve track, the AI Drake voice thing, as a big example of the tech and the copyright headaches.
And Google's music LM, Paul McCartney, using AI for that potential Lennon vocal, it shows what's technically possible now.
Grimes suggesting royalty splits for using her voice. Meta releasing open source AI like Musigen. It shows the conversation is happening about new models.
The OECD stresses needing adaptable ethical frameworks, rules that can change as the tech does, covering legal, economic, societal stuff.
And they warn against just ticking boxes for ethics. You need real engagement to avoid moral blindness, they say.
Looking at various guidelines from recent years, they found common themes: transparency, human values, fairness, privacy.
Transparency helps build trust, understand the algorithms.
And human-centered values mean keeping human creativity central, distinguishing AI tools from AI creators, and labeling AI content clearly.
Interestingly, they pointed out a gap in those frameworks.
Yeah, the environmental impact, the energy needed to train and run these big AI models.
Yeah.
It's often overlooked in the ethical chat about AI music.
That's a really important angle, the sustainability question.
Definitely. Now, that SciSac report, focusing on Australia and New Zealand creators.
The high response rate alone tells you how much musicians there are thinking about this.
And a strong consensus that there aren't enough rules or government policies yet, especially around credit, consent, and getting paid fairly when AI uses their work.
They warn it could be economically devastating without regulation. Basically, exploitation of creators' work echoes those Reddit fears.
And get this, 89% think AI could lead to cultural appropriation.
Wow, that's high.
And many feel AI makes protecting their cultural rights harder. Leah Flanagan from Natsimo really emphasized the threat to Indigenous communities' culture and economy, saying we need to look beyond just arts and crafts.
That cultural heritage piece is critical, how AI might misuse or misrepresent things.
Okay, almost there. The paper from the International Association for Computer Information Systems. More academic, more technical.
They start by outlining what musicians do: creativity, performance, emotional connection, the human stuff.
Right. Then they trace the history of AI generating lyrics and music, how deep learning and NLP made it much more powerful.
Mentioning platforms like Amper, AIVA, Google, Magenta, but acknowledging they still struggle with, real human depth.
They even get into classifying emotions in music, the complexity of it all.
And they list the usual music tech, DIWs, plugins, synths, reminding us tech has always been part of it.
Suggesting the composer's role might shift more towards being an arranger or producer, guiding the AI.
They talk about different levels of AI control, from suggestions to fully automatic, and how AI is already improving mixing, helping out where maybe you can't get a human engineer.
The auto-tune comparison is good. That was controversial too. Tech and music always sparks debate.
They even suggest AI could spark creativity by throwing up unexpected results. Serendipity.
And they note how platforms influence production, like song length rules. Also, listener perception studies seem mixed. Initial negativity, but sometimes people couldn't tell AI from human music.
Still leaves that big question. Can AI truly feel or emulate human emotion in art?
The million-dollar question. Okay, last one. The Telefonica article. This is more personal, from an old-school musician.
Yeah, someone who saw human creativity as almost magic, something machines could never copy.
Reflecting on that human spark, preferring human warmth over cold machines.
But then they actually tried the new AI music tools, Suno, Udio.
And admitted, wow, this stuff has gotten way better recently. They explain how AI learns from vast data sets, kind of like how humans learn by listening.
Though they noticed AI maybe doesn't quite grasp song structure, like the why behind a verse or chorus.
Uses a film director analogy for the producer's role, guiding musicians, shaping performance. Stuff AI can't really do live yet.
But acknowledges AI can help producers with technical tasks, like visual audio analysis for mixing, and brings up the Beatles now and then as AI helping clean up old recordings, enabling that collaboration.
So the big question again, threat or ally, the author lands on. It's a tool. Depends how you use it.
Acknowledges it can lower barriers for musicians, which is good, but also worries about artistic skills getting rusty.
Yeah, that personal story about forgetting how to tune by ear because of relying on tuners, that's a potent warning. If AI makes everything effortless, do we stop practicing the fundamentals?
Okay, wow. That was a lot to cover. Let's try and pull some threads together.
It's definitely complex. No easy answers. AI in music is moving incredibly fast.
We heard Harvey Mason Jr.'s call. Understand, adapt, advocate, compete. We saw the raw feelings on Reddit: fear, excitement, debate.
M Magazine looked at industry ethics, collaboration potential. OECD gave the big policy picture. SciSac highlighted creator rights and cultural concerns down under.
And the academic and personal pieces dug into the tech, the history, the potential downsides like skill atrophy.
So for everyone listening, hopefully this gives a clearer map of this changing territory,
Yeah.
whether you're making music, in the industry, or just love listening.
Understanding these dynamics feels pretty crucial right now.
The big themes seem to be needing to adapt, needing to fight for creators' rights and fair compensation, and needing to double down on what makes human creation special.
That human element, yeah. Which leads to a final thought, maybe.
Go for it.
Well, if AI gets incredibly good at mimicking styles we already know,
Yeah.
and at the same time we keep hearing how vital the human story and feeling is, what kind of new music might come out of that tension?
Like forms we haven't even thought of yet. Blending human intent with AI capabilities in totally novel ways.
Exactly. Will we start valuing music? Less for technical perfection, which AI might achieve, and more for the authenticity, the story, the person behind it.
That's a fascinating question. And how we all engage with music going forward, listening, creating, sharing, that's probably going to shape the answer, isn't it?